Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 105 of Tea Time with Tiffany, another summer edition. I hope that you're doing well. What I'm planning to do for today is do our usual what's happening, and then instead of our new traditional segments of books and crafts and what's the other segment that we usually do? It's just what's happening, I think. But usually we do what's on my bookshelf and then the Creative Commons. I thought this week we would take a break from that and move over to the periodic segment that I had mentioned called the Church Triumphant, where we have a spotlight on a particular saint. So that's what we're going to do today. Try that out. I've been, I'm reading the Harry Potter series, and it's just going to take me the rest of the summer, so it's not like I really have anything new to recommend. And we're doing the book club, so the summer book club with the Wells, so that's consuming all of my reading time. So I thought that this was a good time to do a little saint feature, and plus I just had one on my heart, so I thought perfect. All right, but first let's start with what's happening. So lots of stuff happening. It's all good stuff. So I have been hard at work on my Bible study writing project, and it is a 7-chapter project of daily Bible studies with spiritual classics. And I am on chapter 5, I'm happy to say. So I've been a busy little bee. I've been productive. I am hoping to have chapter 5 finished by late next week. And then going into August, I will have 2 chapters to go. The semester starts here on August 28th, I believe, is the date. So I still will have some time, but a lot of that time is then going to be taken up once August hits. I will have lots of lesson planning and course planning to do. Not looking forward to that, but it'll be okay. I definitely feel a lot better about things than I did last year at this time. Our team has grown a little bit, which is helping, and it should not be as overwhelming. And we have vowed that this is the last time for this academic year that we're going to change the course quite so much, because we've been doing this. We did it obviously for last fall, we did it over the winter term for the spring, and now we're doing it again for this new fall semester, and it's very tiring, and we're all a little burned out of it. So, we have it the way that we want it for fall, and we're going to keep it that way for spring, because we just can't keep working up all of the energy to make these large scale changes and then adjusting to them. And we're all still teaching a lot of sections, and so each week you're having to familiarize yourself with so much new material. So for this year, that will come to sort of a standard, which is a very positive thing. And then over the summers, we can make changes that we want to, and we'll have plenty of time to do that. So this summer has been a little stressful with doing that on the heels of just having done it back in January, and then all of the other projects that we're all working on. So we're coming to a good place. I feel good about that. And, I've been able to get a lot of writing done. I really, really, really want to get all 7 chapters drafted before classes begin on August 28th. So keep that intention in your prayers if you would. I'm so grateful. Very cautiously optimistic that that will happen. But it'll be once I finish chapter, I know I'll have until next week, chapter 5 should be good. After that, I've just got to squeeze in 6 and 7 amidst the other work, and so, just hoping that that takes place. So that's where we're at with that. In other news, I talked last week about how I've got lots of dance stuff going on, and that has only grown. The next 2 weekends are epic. I've got multiple events each weekend, but it is the heart of the summer, and this is the high time for belly dance gigs and other cultural dance. So I've just been trying not to fret. I've been listening to my music a lot and practicing to the extent that I can. It's just a lot to keep track of, and as I get older, I just worry about forgetting things. That really only comes into play with regards to when I dance with my troupe, because that's when there's hard and fast choreographies to have memorized. When I dance by myself, I'm usually improvising, like 99% of the time I am. And so therefore, I don't have to have anything memorized. You know, I may want to do certain things and think that certain things fit well with the music here or there, but if I don't do those things, it really doesn't matter. So that's good, but it's challenging in that you always then have to be conscious, like I talked about on Tuesday with the Patronus post. You have to be conscious of your face, because then you're thinking, and you know, you're nervous and you're thinking, what am I going to do next? And that can really show in the way that you present your facial expressions. And you always want your facial expressions to be, of course, it depends on the music, but generally speaking, I'm dancing to upbeat, lively music, and so you want to be smiling and look very happy and like you're having this great time when you're probably not having a great time at all. And so, you know, so that comes into play a little bit with improvising. So I've been working on that, but it's going to be very tiring for this introverted librarian. So just, you know, doing what I can. All you can do is, I tell myself prepare, but really I tend to over prepare. I've been taking classes in Middle Eastern dance for almost 10 years, and so I am well prepared. I don't need to make myself so anxious about, well, I need to do all of these things in the week leading up to these events. I'm prepared. You know, it's all up here. That's what Clara always told me, pointing to her temple. It really is all about your mindset and about having the confidence that you know what you're doing and presenting yourself as such. That is the most difficult part. It really is, because no matter how long you've been doing something, it is so easy to still feel very insecure about your abilities at it, and that is really what can trip you up. So doing the best I can, it's an exercise, an important exercise and life skill in performance and presenting yourself with your best foot forward. So I'll keep you posted, but lots going on with regards to that. So both of my events for this particular weekend coming up are on Saturday. So if you keep me in your prayers this Saturday, I would be most grateful. The weekend after that, I just can't even tell you. I don't want to say it's bad, because it isn't, but it is intense. That's the word I want to use. It is very intense. I have events on both Saturday and Sunday. On the Saturday, I'm going to have 2, and they're all, the one event that spans the festival, that spans both Saturday and Sunday, is all day. And then I've got an evening gig on Saturday too. So I'm going to be tired. I may take Monday off from work. I'm going to need to recover. All right, so that's what's going on with that. I've got stuff going on with seasonal allergies. You can hear it in my voice a little bit. I feel very scratchy. I've been going through that all spring and summer long. It's another fun part of getting older. It's like certain things. I mean, I've always had seasonal allergies, but yay, now they've gotten worse. So we have that. Things are going good with the kids. Henry's going to be doing a science camp next week. I mean, they've just been home with Mike and their grandparents, but Henry was interested in this 1 week-long summer camp, half day, at the local Catholic boys high school, which is where he really wants to go in a couple of years. I'm just praying we'll be able to afford it. We'll be working on that. I thought it would be nice for him to see the school. He'll probably see some of the boys from his current K-8 Catholic school there, I'm sure, because they're close together. So geographically speaking. So he's looking forward to that. Anne has been as sassy as ever and is just looking so tall and big to me these days. She is really growing, and she's definitely looking like a first grader and not like my squishy little pre-K kindergartner anymore. And it makes me want to cry, so we're not going to dwell on that anymore. But she's doing really, really well. My wonderful Mike is also doing well. He's teaching for the summer. The summer classes are always, I'm gabbing. I'm supposed to be doing saint stuff. I'm sorry. I'll get back to that. The summers are always dicey because he's an adjunct instructor, and so what that means is that you're paid per course. you get a contract per course. You don't have like a full-time contract with a university where you're guaranteed to teach every single semester. It has always worked out for us. It gives him great flexibility with regards to the kids because he's able to pick them up and drop them off because he doesn't have to like be in an office by a certain time and then be there until a certain time. It's been wonderful because he's been able to be with them, and he takes care of the grocery shopping and all of these things at home, which are such a blessing to me. So that's great. But in the summer, it's always a little bit like during the fall and spring semesters, it's never an issue. There's always classes. But come summer, it's always a little bit dicier because enrollment is so much lower in the summer, and if they don't get a minimum number of students to enroll, then they won't run the course. So, and that means, of course, he doesn't get paid. So we never know what's going to happen in the summer. And in the first session, we were hoping that 2 sections were going to run, and it looked like 2 were going to run. And then right before the class started, we had a couple students drop, and they went below the minimum number needed, and so he got 1 section instead of 2. Coming into the second session, it really looked like only 1 was going to run. But it's like, all right, well, it's just part of it. And so we were just budgeting very carefully and all of that. And, I really felt very blessed. Things were going just fine. God has always been so good to us. And then right before classes started, the other section got more students. So he's teaching 2 classes right now. We feel incredibly blessed. This means that, we'll be able to do some things that the house needs in the fall once he gets paid for this session, which I feel so grateful for. We need a new door on the side entrance of our house before the winter, and we have some carpeting that needs to be replaced, and so I think we'll be able to do those things now with this extra section, and I feel very grateful for that. So that's what's been going on with us, really. Very busy, but all good stuff. So, all right. My saint feature for today. We talked a little bit about Saint Kateri Tekakwitha last week because her feast day is July 14th, so that has come and gone. But all July, I'm always thinking about Saint Kateri. And so right now in my car, I've been praying a rosary that has her centerpiece. I'm showing in the video if you're watching. I have, let's just say, several Saint Kateri rosaries, and I gift them a lot. Whenever I see that Allison has made a new Saint Kateri rosary in her Etsy shop, I usually end up buying it and I give them out to people because she's just one of my personal patrons. I have talked about her, written about her many times on the blog and over at Catholic Mom. If I remember, I'll try to pop some links into the show notes of those things. But she's very important to my family. And so I thought that I would just spend a couple of minutes talking about her. So before I fully segue into that, sort of an addition to what's on my bookshelf for the week. This is the book. So whenever I do a saint feature, this is the book that I'm going to be using. And it is A Book of Saints for Catholic Moms by Lisa Hendy. And I very much think that this book is not applicable only to moms. Definitely applicable to dads. Also applicable to aunts, uncles, grandparents. I think that this book is wonderful and you could use it in any of those roles. And so what we have here is a lovely index of saints and their patronages, and an intro to each saint. Tells you when they lived, their patronage, their memorial, a lot of information about them and what we can learn from them. And what I really like that Lisa does in this book is that she gives you a week's worth of scripture verses with that saint. So different scriptures that relate to what that saint is known for, things that happened in his or her life. And so Sunday, it's a proverb or whatever it is, and then she has the verse right in the book. So if you don't have your Bible handy, you don't have to look them up. And after that, there's saint-inspired activities it says for mom, but of course, again, it could be dads, grandma, grandpa, if you want to do these with your nieces or nephews. So an activity for the adult, and then an activity, something you can do with the child, and relating to that saint and traditions that they're known for. There's a prayer and we'll read Saint Kateri's prayer when we finish up here, and then something to think about relating to that saint's message. So really lovely. So you can take a saint and for a whole week, you can sort of spend that week with that saint. And you can use this with the calendar. So as you move through the calendar year, you could look at a saint whose feast day is right around that time. and then incorporate it in then, or you could just pick them based on inspiration, whatever you're feeling. So it's a really nicely structured book. So for this week, I wanted to talk about Saint Kateri Tekakwitha. So she lived in the 17th century. She's the patron saint of environmentalists, also those who have lost parents, because she lost her parents when she was a young child. Her memorial is July 14th, like I mentioned. So there's a couple reasons that I feel very bonded to Saint Kateri. I feel bonded to her as a Mohawk woman, and she also is originally from the Hudson Valley area of New York, so not far from where I live. And so I feel this geographical kinship to her, and I feel a cultural kinship to her because my dad is Mohawk, and so was her dad. So for me, there is definitely that personal connection, but obviously I think that she has a lot to offer for everybody. But she lived in the 17th century. Her mother was a Christian, who was Algonquin, and her father was not a Christian. He was Mohawk, and they both passed when she was a child. They all contracted smallpox. And she happened to, she was 4, it says, and she did happen to survive. But one of the things that is most known about Saint Kateri is that after this happened, she had a lot of scarring on her face from the smallpox. And so that had to be obviously a difficult thing for a child and a young woman to deal with. She was taken in by an aunt and uncle, and at this time there had been some Catholic missionaries in the area, and that was not necessarily seen in a positive light, because her community had their own spiritual traditions, and they felt that this was an infringement on, if the missionaries were an infringement on that. So there's definitely a mixed set of feelings, I guess, within the Native American community, understandably, about Catholic missionary efforts, because sometimes those efforts were heavy-handed, even if that wasn't necessarily the intention. Sometimes the intentions were not so good, because of course we know that there are bad seeds, I guess, within everything. And so there was damage that was done in the past with some of these types of things. And so there was resentment then about faith, because it was then connected with these more unsavory missionary efforts, or even the efforts that were well-intentioned were seen as heavy-handed, even if that wasn't at all what those particular missionaries were doing, just because of this historical background and because the people already had their own spiritual tradition that they were attached to. So it's a very loaded issue, right? And it's understandable. It's just one of those things that is what it is. And it's just unfortunate, of course, for all of those that were involved. So in Saint Kateri's case, her uncle was not Christian at all, and he was very resistant to the Catholic faith being propagated in his area. And so when she became a young adult, wanting to become Catholic was a very dangerous thing, really, for her to do, because he was so against it, and many of the other people in her community were so against it. And so when she was baptized, she took the name Catherine. Her name was Tekakwitha. That was just her name. And then when she took the name Catherine, we now call her Kateri Tekakwitha, Kateri being the Mohawk version of Catherine. And she chose that after St. Catherine of Siena. Eventually, because this was not accepted very well, her baptism within her community, she moved with a group of other Catholic women up to a community in Canada, the St. Francis Xavier Mission. I believe it was in Quebec. When she was there, she was able to receive First Communion and work using her faith amongst other people, taking care of people, teaching the faith to others. And she did that very happily. One of the other reasons that she met with resistance back with her community is, back when she still lived in New York State, was because she didn't want to get married. And that was just not really done at that time. You would get married and have a family, and that was just what everybody did. And she wanted to remain unmarried and dedicate her life to God, and that was seen as somewhat odd. And so when she moved to this other community in Quebec, she was able to just fully live out that part of her faith identity that she really wanted to carry out. So she was very happily able to practice her faith once she moved to Canada, and she did die at the age of 24. I'm just going to turn down my ringer, sorry. She still passed away at a young age. And so looking here at the rest of St. Kateri's story, she's known as the Lily of the Mohawks. I have lots of St. Kateri artwork. I love the way that she's portrayed in iconography. I'd like to get one for my office. Speaking of which, I have one at home. She's carrying a lily. You've seen before. I think I showed her last week. This is Our Lady Star of the Sea. Sorry, St. Kateri's over here. And she's holding a wooden cross. Part of her story is that she was often creating little wooden crosses and putting them up near where she would work. She would take time out to pray during the day, and she'd create like a little station, she called it, for herself, where she'd put up this little cross and attach it to a tree as just a reminder to herself when she was praying. And so she has a lovely connection to nature. She does have a chaplet that I have up a video and an audio of on my chaplets page. I'll link over to that too. And it all relates back to her connection with nature, the beads on the chaplet and the different themes, and I just love her. So one of the traditions that Lisa mentions in the book is the Tekakwitha Conference. It's a large Catholic Native American organization in the United States and Canada. I went to their website. I have a link to it in the show notes, and it's a really lovely community of Native American Catholics, and just a way to network with other people that you have that in common with. And they have a conference every year. There's regional groups, and so I was kind of peeking around on there to see. I was looking at their Google map. It doesn't look like there's a chapter that's particularly close to me, but maybe there's one that's close to you, and it is open to anybody who's interested in St. Kateri. You don't have to be of Native American descent. So looking at St. Kateri's scriptures, so it mentions here the activity. So what you could do with a child is that she likes to fashion these simple crosses out of sticks and place them on a path in the woods to remind her to pray. You could take a nature walk and bring some sticks home and create some crosses and put them in your backyard. Something to ponder for the week. How can your family be better stewards of our physical world through conservation, less materialistic lifestyles, and use of more sustainable resources? So, things I think of immediately, we recycle in our neighborhood, but, the bin isn't always right near me, and so sometimes I'm a little lazier with that than I should be. So absolutely, just something small, like taking that extra effort to walk down and to the recycling bin and put everything in there that should go in there. Maybe starting a compost bin. You can think of St. Kateri when you do it and how we're taking better care of our planet when we do so. A prayer for our family. St. Kateri Tekakwitha, you gave up your home and your family to actively practice your Christian faith. Help us to love prayer, the Eucharist, and servicing others as much as you did. May we look at the physical world around us with thanksgiving, seeing the hand of God in each bit of creation. May we be good stewards of this earth God has given us. Help us to never miss an opportunity to help a friend or to see the face of God in someone in need. Amen. So I'm thinking of St. Kateri a lot right now. I am going to continue to carry her with me in my heart, certainly, as we make our way through the summer. And I hope that you do too. She has so much to offer us, I think, about childlike faith and trust. I was reading in Lisa's book about how once she moved to Canada and she was able to receive her first communion, she would just make every effort to be able to go to Mass every day so that she could receive the Eucharist, because this was something that she hadn't been able to do back when her faith was newer and before she had moved. And so she would walk out, as you can imagine, the winters were hard where she lived, and she would still make that effort to get to Mass because she craved the Eucharist. And that is a powerful example, I think. Certainly for myself, especially in the summer, and in the fall it's a little bit harder because I need to be here earlier to teach, but in the summer I have a lot more flexibility in the morning and I could go to daily Mass. And thinking of what St. Kateri went through to get to daily Mass is an absolute wake-up call to me that I should be doing this. So I am going to be doing something about that, even if it's once a week. All right, that's my resolution. So what do you take away from St. Kateri's story? Is there anything that you would like to incorporate based upon her life and spirituality that you'd like to incorporate into your routine? I'd love to hear about it. Let's have a St. Kateri chat. And yeah, I loved this. This was really fun. So we'll try to do this. I don't know if it'll be every single month. Maybe it will, but just regularly. So we'll have a saint feature, another one coming up hopefully in August. So I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I'm looking forward to talking to you again next week, and I'll see you then.